Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn goes down this Saturday night. I cannot believe the amount of respected people in the game who think Conor Benn's going to win, or it's going to be an extremely competitive fight. I believe Chris Eubank Jr. absolutely boxes Conor Benn's head off, and I'm going to explain why. Welcome to Fight Club 24/7. My name's Johnny Rashman. Right, let's get straight into it. Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, fight week, here we come. Right, I've got to be honest, hold my hands up, I didn't think we'll get this far with the weigh and is the fight on and off, but we have. However, the weigh-in's going to be absolutely crucial because what you have to remember, it's not just the limit of 157 that Chris Eubank Jr. needs to make, it's the rehydration clause the day after, which I believe there's an 11 a.m. weigh-in on the Saturday, the morning of the fight, and he can't weigh no more than, well, there's a bit of confusion with this. It's either £5 or £10. No one actually knows. Tony Sims' trainer on TalkSport seemed to reference that the IBF limit of £10, he's going to go by that. There's a bit of confusion. Does he have to weigh 166 on Saturday at 11 o'clock, or does he have to weigh 162? No one's quite sure, but either of those two, he has to make those weights. So it's not just a case of making weight and then rehydrating to eating what you want. He's got to severely watch what he's eating. He can't just eat a load of food or drink a load of water because you'll literally be sick. So it is crucial, and I think it's a bit of a piss take, to be honest. I don't think Eubank Jr. should have agreed to it. Maybe £15 or £10, but not £5 if it is that. That's absolutely just madness. I think the way Chris Eubank Jr. is looking, like, he doesn't look like a man who's struggling at the weight. You have to look at a fighter's discipline, right, and the way they've handled themselves in their careers when you're looking at going down in weight, right? If you're a fighter who doesn't live the life, who balloons up and down in weight, then you're going to find it tremendously difficult to get yourself sucked down to a certain weight. Chris Eubank Jr. is dedicated. He's dedicated. He doesn't drink alcohol. He's never overweight. There's not an ounce of fat on him, right? He is not a guy who doesn't train. No matter what you say about him, right? He is a dedicated motherfucker, right? Absolutely dedicated to training, to fitness, to eating right, to looking after his body, preserving his body. He is a machine, right? So he's not going to go into this, right, if he couldn't make this weight. He couldn't, because look how he's acting. Look at the videos he's put out with eating the burgers. I mean, he'd never be able to fight again if he didn't make this weight. He'd just be a complete laughingstock. So I think he'll make it. I think he comes across as a disciplined guy, and I think he'll want to prove a point that, yeah, I will fucking make it. It's not going to make a difference when I get you in the ring. Doesn't matter what advantages you may have or don't have. It's time to fight. So I think he'll make that weight, right? But it's going to be interesting with the rehydration clause to see, and if he doesn't make the weight. So, but I think he'll make it. Right, Conor Benn. I posted on my Instagram saying my views on Conor Benn is not to discredit him, it's not to belittle him. I'm a fan of Conor Benn, right? I am. There's never not been a Conor Benn fight where I've wanted him to lose, right? I back him. He's a UK fighter, right? He's a good fighter. He's explosive. He's exciting. He's dedicated. He's a good role model. He's not falling out of nightclubs. I like him, right? I think his career's manufactured. His promos can be a bit cheesy. It's a bit like Stone Cold Steve Austin, but at the end of the day, I like him. I do. But I don't buy into hype. I don't. I'm not linked to him. I'm not linked to his trainer. I'm not linked to Eubank Jr. I'm not linked to any of them, right? So I can give you my honest opinion. And I pride myself on my predictions, right? As I always say, no one predicts them like me. They don't. If you look at my predictions, I'm not just saying he's going to win the fight. I explain what's going to happen. Joyce and Parker is an example, right? I literally explain everything that's going to happen in that fight, and I said he'll take him out rounds 10 and 11. Haney Kambosos, right? This is not me a video the day before. The whole months before, I said it's going to be an easy fight for Haney. He'll win it on the jab. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's easy to predict that. They weren't saying that at the time. At the time, Kambosos was maybe even the favourite in that fight. It was a 50-50 in most people's eyes, right? And I explained exactly what was going to happen. Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. Most people thought Tyson Fury would avoid that fight, right? He didn't. Right, I predicted what's going to happen. Jack Catterall, Josh Taylor. I literally say he's going to drop Josh Taylor in the fight, and there's going to be controversy on the scorecard. I've got a WhatsApp message I'll show you saying to a mate of mine, he asked me what's going to happen. I say Taylor's going to win split decision with him going to be knocked down. So, I put a lot into these predictions. I hate it when I'm wrong. It fucking drives me mad. If I'm wrong with this prediction, I will be the first to eat humble pie, because I am the first to let people know, yeah, I did get that right? Because believe me, when I don't get it right, I get hammered. So when I do get it right, I will say, yeah, I was right. And if I don't get this right on Saturday, I'm going to look like an idiot, aren't I? Because I'm absolutely convinced Eubank Jr. boxes Ben's head off. I'm absolutely convinced. Now I'm going to explain to you why. Conor Benn, right? A lot of people are buying into the hype, right? This is what a good promoter and manager does for you. And Eddie's a great promoter, right? And he's really, really gone to town with Conor Benn, right? He's severely manufactured his career. No one ever predicted that Conor Benn would turn out to be the fighter he is now, especially when he got dropped in one of his earlier fights, right? People thought he was like how Campbell Hatton is. Now, Campbell Hatton's a nice kid. He's improved. He's a decent fighter, but he's never going to be a world level fighter, right? Let's just get it right. He's not. And people thought that's how Conor Benn was going to turn out. He's not. He's proved people wrong, and he's got to a level that people probably thought he couldn't get to. He's improved. He's exciting. He's explosive. But look at his last few fights. Don't tell me he's a world level fighter and he's going to be a world champion. Don't tell me that. Back it up. What on his resume suggests he's going to be a world champion? Now people can say, well, look at Jaron Ennis's resume and all this, but these guys have started boxing at an early age, right? They had good amateur careers. Do you know what I mean? Conor Benn, I think he had 20 amateur fights in Australia, not of any note. When you come into boxing and you don't have an extensive amateur background, you're already at a major disadvantage, because when you step up the levels, you're fighting people who have started boxing when they were 6, 7, not when they were 16 or 19. Do you know what I mean? So they've got a big disadvantage. They've got a big advantage over you, right? And Conor Benn didn't have any type of real amateur career. As I say, it was 20 fights, I think he had in Australia, right? So he's at a major disadvantage. He started pro, I think, when he was 19, right? And as I say, he's improved. But look at the resume. His last few fights, let me just put some facts in, right? Chris Van Heerden, right? 8 rounds in 3 years, right? He fought Jaron Ennis, I think, a few years before, and that was stopped in the first round, right? So he literally completed 8 rounds in 3 years when he fought Conor Benn. What is that? That's not improving your fighter. All that is letting Conor Benn knock him out and giving it the whole promotional boost. And it's smart, it's clever, but I don't go off that. I don't look at that and think, wow, he can stop world-class fights because he's beat an aging inactive fighter. Not interested, right? Samuel Vargas, 2 wins from 7 fights coming into that fight. Chris Algieri, I believe he retired before. Again, 4 fights in 6 years, aging fighter. Granados, 1 win in 4 fights. Sebastian Formella just lost to Chris Congo. That's British level. Chris Congo's a good fighter, don't get me wrong, right? But that's not world level, right? So these wins are very, very flattering. Look at the rankings now with these people. Go on BoxRec and look at the rankings. Vargas, I believe, is 131. Algieri's 52. Van Heerden's 39. So if you're looking at the rankings of these people, I don't know what they were ranked coming into the fight. I'm not interested in manipulated rankings, right? But that tells you. And look at what these fighters have done after. Algieri, Granados, Van Heerden haven't fought since. Vargas lost his next fight. So he's not fighting active world-class fighters. So don't tell me he's 4th in the world. Don't tell me that when he's not fought anyone in the top 30. Or certainly the top 20. So stop telling me he's going to be a world champion. Let me see it. Let me see him beat a top 10 fighter. Let me see him beat a top 20 fighter. Or a top 15 fighter. And I'll change my mind. Don't put a few promos in my face and go, I'll iron you out, mate. I'll iron you out. And tell me all this. And then put fancy production and video things. And Eddie talking. I don't want to hear that. I want to see it. I want to see it. And I've not seen anything to suggest that Conor Benn can compete at world level. I've not seen it, which is why his team haven't put him in with any world level fighters. That's it, right? It's not me having a go at him. This is me not spoon feeding you bullshit. Now, maybe he'll go on to be world class. I don't believe he will. I think he's limited. I think he's drained every bit of talent and dedication out of himself. And to get this far is an unbelievable achievement. I think he'll be manufactured to world titles where he can get a world title shot. But I don't believe he becomes a world champion unless he stumbles on a vacant bout against someone lower ranked than him. I don't know, right? But I don't see him being a world champion. I don't think he's good enough. I think when he fights the elite fighters, right, he doesn't have a jab. His lack of a jab will be a problem. He comes in, he telegraphs his shots, he swings. Yes, he's tough. And yes, he's got a lot crisper, right? And he's more calculated. But you can still see him, even at Van Erden, when he got in here. He's wild. He leaves his chin in the air. When you're fighting a world-class fighter, they'll step back, bang, pop you with an uppercut, roll, hit you with a counter, right? They'll just see it coming. They'll bust you up with a jab. The jab's the most important part of boxing. Conor Benn doesn't have a great jab. He's only a small fighter, right? And yes, you can look good against aging and active fighters. When you're knocking them out, happy days, it looks great. Doesn't mean anything when you're going to fight a world level fighter. You're not progressing. Those fights against Algeria and Van Heerden would have taken him back, not progressed him as a fighter. What have you learned in those fights? You took them out early doors, right? What have you learned? You've not gone the rounds, you've not gone the distance, you've not seen different styles. You've just fought aging fighters so you can promote him and say, he's this, he's a knockout merchant and blah, 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 right? I'm only giving you facts here. I'm not spoon feeding you anything, right? I'm only going off what I see. Now, if he does beat Eubank Jr., I hold my hands up, right? I hold my hands up, I'll say I was wrong, right? But I think he's just going to get a beating. I really do. I think Chris Eubank Jr. has this ability to make European fringe world-class level fighters ordinary. He can make them look ordinary. Now, Eubank isn't an elite world-class fighter. He's not. His lack of amateur background hinders him. When he fights truly world-class fighters like Billy Joe Saunders, like George Groves, he gets outboxed. He does, because his jab's decent. He's got a good jab, but against world-class fighters, it ain't that good because their level's above him. Because they started boxing when they were 7, 8, 9, 10 and went through the amateurs. Eubank didn't have an extensive amateur career, right? So it makes a difference. I know some people say it might not, but it does. When you're going to fight fighters who have been boxing and gone through the amateur system from 8 years of age, they're on a different level, right? Now, you'll beat them with hard work if they're not training hard. There's no doubt about that. But if they're disciplined, they're training hard, it goes to talent and the talent will win, right? But Chris Eubank, he might not be elite world level, but look what he's done to fringe world-class fighters. Gary O'Sullivan, Spike O'Sullivan and Liam Williams. Those were billed as 50-50 barnstormers before the fights. They had face-offs around the table, there was promotion for it. And he made those two blokes look ordinary. Absolutely ordinary. Liam Williams, we all thought that was a 50-50. I've never seen someone make someone look so ordinary in my life. Every time he hit him, it looked like he hurt him. It looked like Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones in that fight. I couldn't believe it, right? And do you really think if Williams was fighting Conor Benn, you'd think Conor Benn would win that fight? I don't. You need to look at the caliber of opposition, right? Eubank's been up at super middleweight and fought George Groves. Billy Joe Saunders, right? If you watch that fight, the first 6 rounds, it was an absolute masterclass from Billy Joe. Masterclass. He boxed his head off. But people forget the last 6 rounds, Eubank was causing him murder. Absolute murder. Billy Joe was red, puffing, cut. He looked like he'd been in a fight. And it was a close fight towards the end, let me tell you. It was a close fight towards the end. Eubank won the second half of that fight. George Groves, monster puncher, right? Got cut and just soldiered through. Got outclassed, but didn't really get hurt, The guy's got a great chin, right? He has. So all this talk of Conor Benn's going to knock him out and all this, I don't know what people are fucking watching. It's just unbelievable, right? However, I can take the point about the weight cut. You've got to take that seriously, right? With the rehydration clause, as I mentioned, and the weight of 157, he's never made that weight before as a professional. So, look, if it does severely deplete him, then yes, obviously, it's a different fight, right? It is. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't. And I think Chris Eubank Jr. has got too much ability for Conor Benn. I just think Conor Benn will be hitting fresh air. I think he'll be wild. I think he'll miss. He'll get popped off with a jab, and I can see swelling in both eyes, busted lips. I think the towel could come in, right? Because Conor is game. He's tough. He's a tough man, right? He's not gonna. He will go out on his shield, but I think his corner may save him, right? And if he doesn't get stopped, I think Eubank will win comfortably on points. I think a lot of people will realise after the 4th and 5th round that, it's only going one way here. Okay, the first 2 rounds, the atmosphere will be a bit cagey, and Ben might have the odd success. He'll load up, but Eubank will work it out, and he will just bust him up. I think he'll just play with him. I think he'll talk to him throughout the fight and just create angles and outbox him. I don't think he'll stand in front of him and start trading. I just don't think that's going to happen. It might do. I hope it does. And look, I'd actually like to be proven wrong. I hope it is a barnstorm, and I hope Conor Benn does prove me wrong. But they aren't the dads, right? These fighters are not their dads. That's it, right? People are looking too much into that. They're not. Conor's not Nigel, and Chris isn't his dad, Chris Senior, right? They're not. So it's not going to be that back and forth action. Chris Eubank is the bigger man and is the better boxer, right? And he's been in with a better caliber of opposition, right? And I think he will absolutely play with Conor Benn. I think he wins this fight however he wants to. If he wants to stop him, he can stop him. Maybe he'll carry him. Maybe he'll let him go a few more rounds. He's done that before, Eubank, you know. I just think he'll severely bust Conor Benn up, and he'll give him a beating. I really do. I think he's too big, he's too strong, he's too fast, right? All I've heard reports from people in this camp that he's looking like a machine. I've not heard reports that he's failing at the weight and he looks bad and he looks drawn and he can't throw a punch. I'm hearing he's looking like a machine. That's what I'm hearing. So we'll have to see. But as I say, I'm not here to disrespect Conor Benn. I like him, right? I do. But I'm not going to bullshit you with manufactured narratives. Don't tell me he's world class like I keep saying to you. Don't. Let me prove it. Let me see it, right? Let's see how he does on Saturday, right? Let's see it. There's only one winner, right? Let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm going to get this wrong? Who's going to win the fight? Chris Eubank Jr. or Conor Benn? Like, comment and subscribe.